One. Welcome back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. It's another NWA Spotlight, and this time I will make sure that the file is not corrupt. For those of you that don't know, that are expecting to hear and see the Hollywood Haley or the Hollywood Haley J1, apologies, the file corrupted, so we're not going to be able to bring that to you. We'll have to bring Hollywood Haley J on another day, but we doesn't mean we've stopped with the NWA, no. But first things first, I must welcome my NWA partner, Miss Fiona Lochran. Good evening. How are we?
I'm all right, darling. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks. It's hump day, right? We're getting
Hmm?
closer to it's hump day.
Apparently so.
Getting closer to the
Apparently.
weekend. Anyway, enough about us. Let's talk about our guest and a former many-time tag team champion with a giant partner who I remember we talked about last week, Fiona, who probably chokeslammed gags off at the top of the power station when it felt that way anyway. It is our good friend Daisy Kill. How are you?
Still waking up.
Still waking up for full disclosure over there. It's probably around 2:30 in the afternoon over in Florida, I would assume.
Yeah. Give or take.
Give or take a few minutes. But thank you for joining us. It's going to be great. And again, full disclosure, I did tell that did tell Daisy Kill before we started that my favorite team right now in the NWA is a team that he's got a few issues with, that being the Immortals. So I'm not expecting an easy ride from you this afternoon.
Did you see their music video?
Oh, I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, it looked like Marky Mark ate the whole Funky Bunch. DM Triple XL. It was, yeah.
It was something. I mean, I don't know, Fee, what was better, was their one or my version of it?
You
No
know,
comment.
little story. They should have let me write it. That's all. You know, as much as the rivalry goes and as much heat as we got between us, I would have done them that solid to write that out because
Interesting. Interesting times. But of course, NWA 2025 kicking off in a big way. We've had some new champions, obviously. Back end of last year, Latimer won the title, the world title from EC3. They've got a cage match coming up, I think in 2 weeks. Well, at least in 2 weeks when Looks That Kill airs for us on Power. But Daisy, go back to the last sort of year and a half. How has it been for you in the NWA?
wonderful. You know, it's been an opportunity to wrestle the biggest set of guys in the world, really. I mean, you look at any locker room, and nothing compares to the size of strength, power, experience that the NWA has. So it was a good time being able to have that kind of consistent matchup. People you said like the Immortals, people like Knox and Murdoch, people like the Fixers and Country Gentlemen. You know, ultimately we're better, but it's good to know that we're better, and it's good to know that we can beat the best, and that's what the NWA offers. You bring up Tom Latimer. It's been a wonderful influence. He runs around the locker room. Hey, Daisy, you know, you guys are great to have you here and everything. And I just wanted you to know, when I first saw you, you just looked like a guy I wanted to punch right in the mouth. But, you know, you're all right. And, you know, but I'm going to hold on to that because one day, Tom, your time will come. You'll get to take a swing. So it's all good.
It's going to be interesting, actually. I was going to mention that because obviously you are in a tag team partner with Talos, who's a man mountain of a man. But other than that, is there any time that you think potentially that you may think, well, actually, Tom, I fancy that World Heavyweight Championship myself?
Yeah. Yeah, it's right now. That's the thing about Talos and I is, yeah, we tag. But, you know, Talos has already challenged for the World Heavyweight title. Very close to taking it from EC3.
Hmm.
God rest his soul, Jax Dane came in and he wanted to do what he did best, which was throw hands and mess things up a little bit. We really do miss him, but he cost us that title. And whether it's in the tag division or the singles division, Talos and I, we're going to continue to do our work.
Yeah.
You've tagged with Talos pretty much since you came into the NWA. Must be about coming up to 2 years now. Did you and Talos tag together prior to NWA, or were you a team that got put together as you joined the locker room there?
Talos and I, we would tag together in local bars, parties, things like that. We were actually longtime friends.
Okay.
We met down in Boca Raton, which runs a regular and wonderful promotion out of there. As a synagogue, very pretty, very nice synagogue. chandeliers in the ceilings, just scraping the top of Talos's head. And it was something that we talked about prior to me debuting with the NWA. Was tagging there and everything, and it was something that we very much wanted to work towards. So getting that opportunity from Mr. Corgan and everybody else to allow us to compete in that division, it was a big day for both of us.
Yeah, it certainly was. And you mentioned a couple of names. There's a tag team that actually have just come into the NWA that I thought was a fantastic. Well, I don't know if they've signed
Colognes?
properly, but the Colognes.
Yeah, I know the Colognes very well. I just mentioned Boca Raton, everywhere there in South Florida. They're regulars. One of my first matches in Florida about 4 years ago was a multi four-man tag match that the Colognes ran, and they tried to take some cheap shots for some sweet trash talk into my ear. And once again, Daisy doesn't forget, and I know they're in this tag division now, and it'll come around. I know the Crockett Cup is coming up, so we'll get to see.
Yeah.
That is my absolute favorite. I'm a huge tag team wrestling fan. I love tag team wrestling. Crockett Cup, I've had the pleasure of being out to watch it in the last couple of years, which has been amazing. So I'm expecting great things from you and Talos this year.
Thank you, Phoebe. The tag division, it's not comparable to any other tag division in any other company. We talked about just the roster of NWA in general, but if you look at the tag division with people like BFT, Knox and Murdoch, Fixers, Country Gentlemen, uh, Miserably Faithful, ourselves. When I'm the smallest man at 6'2", 220 pounds out of everybody I just named, that's a very, very large tag division, and I don't think you can compare it to any other company.
I think that's quite true, actually.
Absolutely stacked.
Yeah, because when you look at it and you look at like the other the other promotions, there's the odd one or two names, isn't there? But there isn't like, and I would also go as far as saying like what I call a proper tag team, not two guys that have just been put together. There's literally a story behind nearly every tag team in the NWA, which actually adds legitimacy to that division.
Very much so. Very astute.
Yeah, but you did have a little help NWA 76 with Vampiro. What's happened to him since NWA 76?
Vampiro is off in the time continuum. Vampiro does whatever Vampiro wants, and he took us under his bony skeleton wing, and he allowed us to kind of observe. And Vampiro is a very impressive individual in the ring and out of it, everywhere he's at. Very seldom spoken, but when he does speak, it always carries a very heavy weight or significance, and we were able to learn a lot from him. I know right now he's just doing whatever it is he does, and he'll come back around as he feels. I think him and I having a little spat at the end of 76, maybe he's a little hot, but we'll cool off.
So, talking of spats, we saw you having a little one last night on last night's Power Edition, when you were with Kyle having a chat. And obviously the Immortals come out and there's a lot of back and forth. What's next for you guys against them? It looks like this feud is not going to go to bed anytime soon.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? I'm pretty sure we beat them. We're the number one contenders for the NWA World Heavyweight titles, and that's Knox and Murdoch. See, the Immortals, they're pitching a fit. Bunch of little brats. Maybe mom put them on the bottle, as we referred to in the promo. They're not getting the BB, they're not getting the binky. They're a little whiny, and that's all right. They attack 2-on-1. We had just finished a match. We just gotten relaxed, and it'll come back around. They owe me a ukulele, so we'll see when the time is right.
Have they bought you a new one?
They have not bought me a new one, but you all mentioned Looks That Kill. You all mentioned the upcoming matches. Well, I do have a new instrument that will be debuted very soon.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That is an
Well,
interesting.
just out of curiosity, obviously you've got your ukulele, we've heard you play, we've heard you sing. Non-wrestling related, do you play anything else?
Yes. Play just about every string instrument. I started with the cello and French horn when I was young. So most brass instruments and string instruments, piano and percussion are easy to me. I don't have the lips for woodwinds. I don't have those tiny little.
That was mine. That was mine. I was a woodwind person, saxophone,
Oh,
clarinet.
oh,
I
Fred,
played double
sorry,
bass as well. So
I got these big pouty lips from somewhere down the line, so I don't know. But Daisy Kill has music on Amazon Music, Apple iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you can stream it. There is Daisy Kill's full rock single. Right now, we are in the process of finishing up the album. Billy has been kind enough to listen and give some feedback on some of the songs, and it's something that's coming again when the time is right.
You seem to be a man of many talents. That's quite impressive.
That's kind of
It's interesting you mentioned obviously Billy there as a great mentor for for your music as well, but someone that I feel that Billy really taps into wrestling in a way, in a little bit of an old school way. 'Cause we've always said on this fee that how matches are generally like an old school feel with a new school twist, but Billy seems to have his finger on the pulse with what's right with wrestling at the moment.
I think Billy doesn't get the respect that is due. People think Billy came in just recently, bought the NWA. Some people know he worked at TNA, but
Yep.
he's been involved in the wrestling scene up close and personal since what, the 90s, mid late 90s with his ECW appearances.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Billy comes from Chicago, which is about the densest wrestling town in the US. I don't, arguably the world. I don't know of a town anywhere that has as deep of a history and as current of a following as Chicago. I can throw a rock 20 minutes any direction. Well, hell, I can throw a rock 40 minutes, but 20 minutes in any direction, and you're going to hit a wrestling show, 3, 4, 500 people with just some local stuff going on. And when the big boys come to town, it really fills up. So Billy's kind of been immersed in pro wrestling his whole life, not just pro wrestling, but on the more fringe aspects of entertainment, being at the forefront of the alternative rock scene in the early and mid 90s. So I think Billy's got a lot of things clicking right. I think he's got a lot of ideas that he wants to see play out in the long run. And I think he's been very good at staffing such a believable, real immersive company, the kind of wrestlers we have, both in the ring, some of the hard hitters I mentioned on the mic, but excuse me, in the ring, but on the mic, we've got some people like Thrill Billy who absolutely rips it apart. And I can't wait to stand across from him and let him know who's better. And then we've got some guys like Kobe Carino, who's just not only a legacy and not only can get it done in the ring, but has a hell of a presence when he does anything. And I think Billy's done a very good job of putting wrestlers together that can create some unique things. And even if you look back pre-COVID and everything, look at some of the people he had in NWA. Uh, Eli Drake, Ricky Starks, and the list goes, Nick Aldis, the list goes on. So I don't think Billy and the NWA really gets its due and the scope of things. They kind of keep getting looked at as this little bastard child, and everybody wants to present Billy as some kind of money mark, which is an absolute joke. When you look at who owns the other companies, Impact is owned by what, a TV production company?
Yep.
Yeah.
AEW is owned by a billionaire, and I'm not going to say anything negative, but he's owned by a billionaire with no prior history in the industry. And if you look at most other companies of the last 20, 30 years, their owners and the people running it have less experience, have less knowledge of the industry that Billy does, and they have less success in the world of entertainment than Billy does. So, I think Billy's going to get his due. I think in the long run, people are going to see what he's brought back to things.
Yeah, I think Fee, we've noticed that, obviously I've been watching NWA nearly 2 years now with yourself, but we've noticed that, and we've also noticed like the small little changes makes the biggest difference sometimes, like a little change in production here and there and bits of that. But Billy has to, obviously he hasn't got that as you mentioned, $1 billion that other people have got. He's got some money, but he hasn't got like that sort of money. But the changes he makes such a big difference to how we watch NWA.
Oh, very much so. And I think the products continue to grow, like you said, little steps. I think it was a hell of an uphill battle to bring the company through COVID, as it
Yeah.
was for all companies across not just the country, but the world. It was for any company to survive COVID was a success in its own right. And when the reality show was shot, I'm not sure if y'all caught the reality
Yeah.
show, hell of a production. I was so impressed with it. But even the crowd sizes there were already growing, but they weren't reflective of this last year. Since Brian Idle has taken charge of the national promotion and been able to work with Kyle Davis, Joe Galley, and Pat Kenny, they've really been able to put together some big crowds. You mentioned Looks That Kill coming up. We put about, I think it was 15, 1,800 people in that building. And that's the second, third time we've been there. We're going to go back in March. All the buildings, all the rooms have been getting fuller and fuller, bigger crowds. And you see that across the industry. So I think we're just going to continue right it. And yeah, we got some big news coming up in the next few months to kind of legitimize all of Billy's efforts.
That's good. We last year we struggled to access the show, unfortunately, because it was on the CW and we had to go through the VPN and everything. And I was very, very vocal about my displeasure at that. But I think now, with it being on X and being so openly available, obviously there's a much wider audience out there. And I'm actually really enjoying the fact that more people, particularly here in the UK, are actually starting to talk about it now because they've got access to it and they're starting to see people like yourself who they might not have known beforehand. So it's really, really good to see the growth and to see the fan base increase. And it obviously means it's going to be a really, really good thing for you guys because it means you might get the opportunity for more travel. I know that Silas and Alex Taylor are coming over to the UK in February, and bits and pieces, and EC3's been over recently. So it must be quite exciting for you with the growth.
Very much so. I know AJ Kazana, the country gentleman, was just over y'all's way as well.
Yeah.
Just said a lot of good things. And we've had some talent come over from the UK recently. And from, I believe, one guy that really stuck out to me. Just a big dude who loved
Will
whooping ass.
Cruz.
Will
Yeah, looks like he had a
Cruz.
Will
good time.
Cruz.
Did you? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
we know
Cruz. I
we
was
know
giving her
Will.
but you caught me there, Cruz. Man, I'm excited about him because he just loves to lay that shit in, and he is somebody who I, that's what the NWA likes, and that's what I was so drawn to the NWA for was the immersion and believability. It's a lot of the times it really is just two dudes beating the tar out of each other, two big dudes who have a legitimate background a lot of the time as well. And I think that plays really well. I think people more than anything don't want their intelligence insulted. I think people want to believe what they're seeing, whatever story that you're telling, stay consistent to it. And that's something that we try to do. But Fifi, you said something about the CW and accessibility, and you hit the nail on the head. With this new transition of media to streaming and different streaming sites compared to network TV or all the different options, it was a little bit difficult to navigate, I think, for some companies. And I think Billy and everybody thought that the CW was a good deal at the time. It was something that was supposed to lead into their network channels, and that thought that in the long term it would ended up leading to more eyeballs on it, but getting stuck on the app, a certain NXT coming through to the network side kind of put a little buffer on that. And I think Billy made a good adjustment to get it out, like you said, on X, get it to where everybody can see it. Very, very easy, a quick click, and you're there, you're watching it in real time. You're able to comment in real time, rewind everything real easy. It's just so easy to use. And so him getting back to that while the new path is forged and while he's getting ready to make those announcements, I think was a wonderful transitionary step.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it definitely
very
was
much
for us,
so.
especially for us as well. As you said, the worldwide audience. And yeah, and speaking of Brian Idol, he's also coming over here, March, I believe, with Mark Over. Coming over to do some wrestling, which is good. It poses the question, Daisy Kill, to you. I mean, if the opportunity arises for you to maybe you and Talos or just your good self to come over to here to UK and maybe even wrestle the Will Cruz over here, is that something that you would like to partake in?
I don't want to beat the tar out of Will Cruz in his home country now.
You know what? One thing with Will,
that'd be rude. I want to be a proper guest. Yeah, something we've been talking with some international companies and things. I know Japan has reached out to Talos and I a few times now, and he's much more gung ho than I. I'm not a big fan of that long of a plane ride and everything else. But Japan looks to be a beautiful, beautiful country, very clean. Are y'all clean over there? Is there not much litter on the ground? You keep everything high and tight?
It depends where you go.
Oh, yeah. See, that's so it's in the air. No, I'd love to come to Europe, especially to England and Poland. I'm English Polish myself, so those are two places I'd like to wrestle at some point in my career. But it's just those damn flights. This is damn flights. If I can get a good nap going on it, it's wonderful. So
We'll just get you a
it's something
teleporter
that
from somewhere.
Talos wants. Yeah, Talos continues to bother me about because Japan's talked. Then Piro, as y'all mentioned earlier, has talked about bringing us over that way. But I've really found such a nice path of success, such a steady climb, staying and focusing on NWA, whether it be their TV programs or their territories. I've been turning down a lot of indie bookings, local bookings, even other ones around, just because it's allowed me to really focus on what we're doing at the NWA, staying purely with their territories, because their territories run very often around Chicago, Tennessee, Florida, Missouri now, getting some going in Texas, and Brian Idol himself is getting something going in the Northeast as well. So it's allowed me to really focus on what I'm doing with this product. And I think y'all will see over the next few matches and few events, as you've seen over the last 6 or 8 months, I've been able to progress a lot with how we've been presenting ourselves in the ring, whether it be the aesthetic or the presence or some of the move set that have been able to incorporate. It's been a nice path, so I want to keep it one step at a time.
Definitely. And well, if you ever do come over and you fancy a championship, we do have a legitimate title over here in the UK. So if you ever wanted to become the turnbuckle champion, the offer's always there.
I will have to ask Bud. You all know James Maverick, I'm sure know of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've not seen him for a
He-
long time, but yeah.
No, he lives over here. He's over in Orlando near me. He's
Yeah.
him and his wife are wonderful, and he's shown me a lot of English wrestling, a lot of English indie wrestling from the mid thousands, late thousands, and stuff. And I really enjoy it, and I've always enjoyed. I think English wrestling because of the mat style. I'm a very big fan of the mat style and technical style. And while some of the modern guys can get a little cute, who doesn't nowadays? So, but William Regal is my favorite and always has been my favorite wrestler. So I think there's a lot of the style that I get to appreciate and get to move around with some of those guys. I think the audience might get to appreciate some of that move set from me. It's not something I've been able to show while in the NWA. When you have a partner like Talos, and when most of your opponents are 6'6", 300 pounds, there's not a whole. It doesn't make strategic sense to try to incorporate as much of the mat wrestling and the technical chaining and things of that nature. I've had to rely a little more on my feet and my hands, but I think that would be a nice opportunity to exchange some nice shoot style wrestling with.
Definitely. So, Fee, as we are coming out of time, and as well as I do, you've done enough of these now. The last question to end up for an NWA
No, my friend Adam, Fifi, I want you to know I do very few of these.
Yes.
Not because I'm exclusive or anything, but just because most of the time, honestly, I forget to follow up for things, and I'm not much on the computer really. I very much enjoy my home life.
That's
Married an
sensible.
11-year-old at home and a lot of pets, and I enjoy my routine throughout the week and training and everything else. But really, you guys won me over. I know we're almost out of time, but I just want to let you know I do listen to your podcasts. I do like to scope the reviews and different things just to see how things are perceived. And with the recent one, it seems like we won you over, and y'all put us over a good bit on that last video. You especially, Fifi, because I've heard earlier.
Yeah,
Reviews.
yeah. I was.
So
It took me a while to warm up to you. I'm not
which
gonna
is, which
lie.
is fine. I think we've had. I only think recently the full scope, where we're getting closer to showing a fair representation of what we do. So I appreciate that, and I appreciated y'all putting us over like that and everything. And yeah, just thought I'd come
Anytime,
on and
you
do
are
it.
more
So
than welcome. We appreciate you joining us.
Exactly. So, but Fee, as I said, last question on an NWA show always goes to you. So fire away.
Okay, really, really basic one. What one person in the NWA locker room that you have never been toe to toe with do you want to stand in the ring with?
Thrillbilly.
Real
Okay.
Billy.
I'm gonna
Wow.
beat the shit out of Thrillbilly.
I would pay to see that.
Yeah.
I would.
And after I verbally eviscerate him, give me a mic in front of Thrillbilly, and then ring the damn bell. And you guys are gonna see the best fight that you've seen all year, and you're gonna want more of it, but there ain't gonna be none because I'm gonna knock every teeth out of his mouth.
There we
Love it.
go. What a way to end it. Days, it's been great. And like you say, you don't do many. So we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. Fee, we've got to jump back on because we're going to
Mhm.
be reviewing Power right now. So we'll leave Daisy Kiel. Thank you so much again, sir. We'll see you down the line. Fee, we'll log off here. I'll go. What are you
Yeah,
going to say?
no, I was just gonna say just before you go, I know you said you're not on socials much, but if you are, where can people catch you?
No, just Google that Daisy Kill, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, like I said, iTunes, any of that. Just check out Daisy Kill. Very much appreciated. Also on ProWrestlingTees.com. We've got plenty of t-shirts, plenty of good time. Hats. Always a good time. Daisy Kill and Talos. So check it out now. But most importantly, as you guys have said, check out NWA Power on X.com. Lots of big news coming, lots of big things coming in the works.
Indeed, they are. Guys, we're out of time. Thank you all so much. We'll see you soon and for another Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. Until next time, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and good.